Good morning, huddlers. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Thursday Spiritual Matters. I am your blurry host, Dr. Monikah Ogando, and I have a quote for you today. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, by one of my favorite psychologists, Carl Gustav Jung. We'll be talking today about the hero's journey right after one of his students, Joseph Campbell. So stay tuned. Good morning once again, everybody. Grand Rising. Do we say Grand Rising? Are we the kind of crowd that says Grand Rising? Stacy's giving me the thumbs up. Welcome, everybody, to Spiritual Matters Thursday. Like I said, I'm your host, Dr. Monikah Ogando. Oh, Robin is here. Yay! It's like a family reunion. Okay, so listen, let's get grounded in today's moment. So I'm going to ask you a few questions so that you can get really, really present. See, like my mug says, be present to the now moment. So Stacy, I asked you before, but I'm going to ask you again, where are you and how are you?
Where am I? I am in Raleigh, North Carolina, operating in the moment of now, answering my call to adventure on our hero's journey. So Joseph Campbell would be very, very proud, but I am doing all of that in the moment of now, in my Morpheus chair, as someone called me yesterday.
Morpheus chair. I love it. I love it. Awesome.
Giving out all red pills today, all red pills.
I love it. That's fantastic. Robin, you're here. Yay! So good to see your face, my friend. Okay, so what are you grateful for? Who are you going to hug today?
Well, I'm dog sitting 2 dogs for my son who's on vacation in Daytona for his engagement / birthday. He's got a big week going on. So I'm going to go hug my little grand doggies and give them lots of love and attention. Of course, my dogs too, because they'll get jealous if I don't.
Of course. We must be equal opportunity lovers. Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I am delighted that you are all here. Hi, Giovanni. Hi, Joyce. Hi, Lisette. Sorrel. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. One of the most fascinating things that I find kind of peppers our world and our reality is that we live in a world full of patterns and full of symbolism. And so when I studied comparative religions in grad school, I was at once fascinated and gratified that I saw so many of the same themes over and over and over again, even though it was different cultures, different generations, different languages, different relationship with our geography and our culture among each other, and of course the divine. And so when I came across Joseph Campbell, who is a 20th century American mythologist, I thought he's onto something, because he talked about how the hero, which is a very central, the main protagonist in every story, the hero, runs through some phases that are, the pattern is like, you could tell it, right? And so I started investigating this and I was like, wait a minute, I see it in movies, I see it in books, I see it in any kind of story that has ever been told. There's a hero journey, there's a main character, and they go through these different phases that I'm going to talk to you about today. And I want you to listen to identify where you might be in a particular journey of yours. Now, there are different areas that we're in, right? So in family relationships, with your money, with your job, career, profession, who you are in the world, etc. I want you to pick a particular domain of your life that matters to you that is significant to you, that you want it to make a difference, or you want to make a difference in it. Pick that, get it in your mind. You got it, you got it, you got it. Just pick one. I know you have several because you're a big achiever and an amazing leader. So, but pick one. And then I want you to listen to the phases that I'm going to introduce to you in the hero's journey. Some of you may already be familiar with this. Stacey's like rearing to go. And I want you to identify where you are in that hero's journey, because here's what's useful about that. If you know where you are in the hero's journey, then you know what's coming, and you won't get flattened by whatever challenge or whatever next phase there is. And it might give you some perspective and understanding, like, oh, that's what that was. Oh, that's what I was going through. And when you can finally see those patterns fitting together, I promise you, you're going to see movies differently. I promise you, I have to make a deal with everybody that I go to the movies with, including my husband or my sister and everybody. I'm like, I'm not going to ruin it for you. I already know how this is going to end because it's very formulaic, but I'm not going to ruin it for you. We're here for the ride. And it's the same thing with your life. When you are the hero and the protagonist of your own life, you know how this is going to end. If you don't win, the game's not over. Just spoiler alert. So let's go through those phases. And I want you to chat me either in the Zoom or in Facebook, the insights that are coming up for you, the questions that are coming up for you, and then we'll kind of massage them together, okay? So this is the first time that I've ever done a screen share. And you'll be patient with me. Yes, you'll be gracious with me. Oh my gosh. Let's see if we can do this. Let's see. Now I have two Campbell pictures. I'm gonna give you the simple one. The simple one is less sexy. It's not as graphically, visually pleasing, but it'll get the point across, okay? Can you see that? Can you see my screen? Okay, fantastic. So the first stage, as it were, of the hero's journey is this ordinary world. And you see it in the movies, you know, like the birds are chirping and the sun is out and it's just like, doo-doo-doo, everything is just copacetic. And then something happens, boom, a call to adventure. Something happens, a building blows up, somebody dies, something terrible happens that then we have to call the main character to the assignment. And the first reaction of the main character of the hero is like, nah, I'm not going. Now, if you follow any kind of superhero movies or cartoons or whatever, like Marvel Comics, DC Comics or whatever, then you'll notice this. One that comes to mind particularly right now is Wolverine, where Professor X comes over. He's like, you know, chopping wood, carrying water. He's minding his business. He's not minding anybody. He's just in his own little world. Professor X comes and says, we need you. He's like, nah. I'm done with that. I'm done being the hero. I'm done saving lives. I'm done putting myself at stake. Forget it. And then Professor X says, but. And the but is addressing a very important psychological and emotional need that the hero has, in this case, the Wolverine. And what is that? For the Wolverine, the big emotional need is justice. He can't just sit around and just let unfair stuff happen. He can't just let around and let people bully other people. Like, you know, Batman's like, what? These people are taking over my city and they're killing people like they killed my parents? Absolutely not, right? And so there's a need, a psychological, emotional need that the hero has, that even though the assignment is not pleasant, doesn't want to do it, this supersedes their comfort. Okay. So once they realize they got to do this, I'm the only one that can do this, then they cross that threshold. You see that phase 5 is that crossing of that threshold, right? So when they cross that threshold, they are saying, yes, I'm going to do this. Reluctantly, it's kind of like a reluctant messiah. You may have heard this phrase before, but they go and do it. And they get pummeled. Because as they go in, they're like, oh crap, this is a bigger problem than I thought. And they start confronting tests. They meet some allies that may friend them in the way, and some enemies. And part of that challenge of that phase of test allies and enemies is using their own discernment to find out who is an ally, who is an enemy. Sometimes allies front as allies, but they're really enemies. And some people may at first blush look like enemies, but they're really allies. So this is an opportunity for the main character, for the hero, to use their internal wisdom, their intuition, to learn to trust themselves. That's important. I want you to write that down. Part of the whole journey is about learning to trust yourself and your own inner wisdom, right? And then comes the approach. Phase 7 is the approach. The approach is like, okay, for real. Neo has to meet Agent Smith. Come on. We've been battling. We've been having these little skirmishes and little wars over here and little confrontations. But come on, it's time to throw down. And typically, what happens is in that big battle, that big throwdown, Agent Smith, or the enemy, the grand obstacle, beats the hero to a pulp. Like, we think the hero is going to lose. We're like, oh, he's done. He's done. Neo is on the floor. He's bloody. He's pulp. Morpheus is nowhere to be found. I know I'm mixing movies, but you understand. You follow me, right? Stacy's eating this up. And we're like, oh man, this is not going to work. We're just going to have to make our peace with losing. And then at that bottom part where it says ordeal, death, and rebirth, something happens at that moment where all hope is lost, when you seem to not have access to the answers. I want you to notice it's perpendicularly opposite to the beginning of the journey. Okay? Because this is very geometric. This is very on purpose. So just like you have everything at the 12 o'clock position, at the 6 o'clock position, you have nothing. And the answer, the question that life is demanding of you is, who do you say that you are? Now, in almost every single sacred scripture that I have read, whether it be the Bible, whether it be the Quran, whether it be the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, etc., there's always a moment when the hero, in the Bible, it's Jesus, in the Bhagavad Gita, it's Arjuna, etc. There's always a moment when somebody says, who do you say that I am? Jesus said it to Peter. Peter is the faculty of faith. And so you have to decide, as the hero of your story, well, who do I say that I am? What do I have? What is important? Do I have it in me one more time? Am I going to let this beat me? Is this what's going to be said about me when all is said and done? Can I live with this defeat? Is it over? Now, the reason why all of these previous steps are so important is because you may need to lean on your mentor. You may need to lean on an ally that says, come on, man, you could do this. Now, almost every hero has a wingman, if you've noticed. This comes from ancient Egyptian civilization when they talked about Horus as the main, in fact, the word hero comes from the word Haru in Egyptian mysticism. And his brother slash cousin slash wingman slash Jiminy Crickets, Anubis, who was born from an earthly mother and a heavenly father. Okay, no analogies there. And he says, you can do this. It's the same thing that John the Baptist says to Jesus. It says, somebody greater than me is coming. You see the connections? And so at that point, at that ordeal, that death and rebirth, the main hero has to decide, who is it that you say that you are, and step it up according to who you say that you are. So then there's the seizing of the sword. There's like this, okay, let's do this. This is also why it's that point of the test and the allies and the enemies. When I told you that it's important for you to lean on your own intuition and your wisdom, your own connection to the divine. This is why, because when you've got nothing else, you have to connect to your connection to the divine. Nobody else can help you. This is between you and God. And so when you fight that final fight, then you get that reward, then you seize the prize. And then it's like, I didn't think I was going to make that. So there's relief, there's surprise, there's pride, there's achievement, there's all of that. And then there's the road back, this resurrection. Notice that the resurrection happens above the horizon in this circle. Woo, the symbolism is deep. The resurrection is like the sun rises again. Come on, church people. Right? And then there's this return with this reward, with this new understanding, new wisdom. And now we begin a new world. A whole new world. Okay, but it's not over. Because guess what happens after this new world and this new normal is an ordinary world? There's another call to adventure. And so even though this looks like a circle because it's flat and we're on Zoom or on Facebook, it's actually a spiral, right? And this is why sometimes when you have some spiritual lessons and you're like, I thought I was done with that. You were at that level, but now this is another level, right? And so if you understand the pattern of the spiral, then you will always be ready for what's next. And you won't get sideswiped by the ins and outs and the vicissitudes of your own life. Does this make sense, everybody? Because I'm nerding out, okay? Okay, so I want to hear from you in the chat or in Facebook. I want to hear like what's coming up for you with understanding the hero's journey and understanding how this relates to your own life. I want to hear it.
Hello.
Hello.
So this is very interesting. You are also one of these people.
Now
I understand why Stacy messes up our movie night. Because of this. He is definitely one of those people that understands this hero's journey. And as I am just taking in the movie, going wherever the movie goes, by the end, he's like, I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to happen.
I'm so sorry.
So this definitely helps me to understand him better. He is still going to sit through my chick flicks and all the other movies that I pick out.
Well,
we have one coming up tomorrow, but this definitely helps me to understand him better. And I know he was very excited about this talk. I know he's been saying a lot in the chat during this time.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's awesome. Good stuff. Do you notice any patterns or any similarities or any correlations to your own life in terms of you being the hero and where you are in a phase of life?
Definitely. And like I said, it helps me to understand him even better as well. So my life, also him, and where we are right now in our journey. So definitely.
Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. That was a very, very beautiful way of pleading the fifth. I will not say anything about my personal life, but I just know I'm working on him. I saw you. We see each other. Stan, you raised your hand. Share with us what's coming up for you.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Doc. What it says to me is that there's a hero in every one of us, which is the obvious, right? And that every challenge that we face is not the universe sending something to defeat us, but sending something to us for us to realize that we do have the hero.
Yeah.
That hero is there. Every one of us, every challenge is a way for us to identify more of the hero that actually is in us. Every challenge. And when we face it, we ultimately are going to see that hero come. Because the hero is there. So that's what I have.
It's not sent to, I love what you said. It's not sent to defeat you. It's sent to chisel and reveal you. Come on, Stan. Pastor Stan is working it out. Thank you for that contribution. Giovanni, you got your hand up too.
Yes. So I am totally digging today's conversation. I'm so in love with today's conversation. And I see that in different projects, there's a different journey. And there's a different place for me in the journey. In some areas, I'm like in an ordinary world. And then there's all these areas that I swear I am on the ordeal, death. It has defeated me. I'm dead. I'm hopeless.
Mhm.
And so what I love about today's conversation, like to make it even more real, we have this conference in Houston right now. And, I test my enemies. I have my enemies, my allies, my approach. And right now it's killing me. I'm like on the floor. I am hopeless. I'm like, oh, I'm done. This is it. It's got me on the ropes. I'm bleeding, really.
Mhm.
And today's conversation gets me to, today my mentor, you, is telling me, this is between you and your God, and who do you say that you are, and get up. And I'm here thinking, that's why I typed it. I'm like, I am never over until it say it's over.
That's right. We started this conversation with, if you haven't won yet, the game's not done.
It's not done. So you can tell my passion. I'm like over here, like full of passion. So I'm gonna be quiet, otherwise.
I love it. I love it.
I'm gonna go to the threshold of awkward. Okay.
But you bring up a great point, Giovanni, and that is that you are the main hero in your story, but in somebody else's story, you might be the mentor, you might be an ally, you might be an enemy, you might be an obstacle, or at the very least an inconvenience, a test in somebody else's story. So I love that you brought that up, because it gives us some nuance and some perspective as to the roles that we play in each other's lives. Awesome. Thank you. Stacy, you've got something.
I'm so amped about this message because, I mean, first of all, I'm a graphic novelist, I'm a storyteller, I'm an illustrator. So this is like my world that I always live in. This is so freaking exciting to me. And I lecture to my students about this, like this very same thing. And I talk to my best friends about this very same thing. Like when they're going through stuff, this is their hero's journey. Like they are the hero on their own adventure. And once we all understand that, like life just makes so much more sense. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, where am I at on this? I keep saying, oh, I'm on the call to adventure. But I've met my tests and my allies and my enemies, and I've realized that my enemy is my own doppelganger. It is my scared self, my procrastinating self, my self that puts off those things into another day because I don't want to deal with those emotional things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I've met my mentors, and I've seized the sword, and it's so very interesting. Like I'm looking at this, and I also realize that I am the Messiah I've been looking for. Like I kept waiting for Morpheus to realize he didn't need Neo. Like he knew. Like I kept waiting for Morpheus. I'm like, when are you gonna realize you're the Messiah? Like you're the one that's gonna save Zion, right? But this is so exciting to me because this is in our culture, and it's been in our culture for multiple thousands of years. And just once you realize that, yes, you have mentors, but the one that's gonna save you is yourself. Like you're the one that's gonna have to resurrect. You're the one that's gonna have to seize the sword. You're the one that's gonna have to battle those enemies, and the greatest enemies are gonna be you. You know, like life just opens up. So I'm not gonna take up any more time. I'm so amped. This is like, you're all up into my world. Like you're stealing all my heart. Oh, my whole gangster is breaking down right now. My whole thug gangster is like crying right now. But thank you. This is awesome.
Joyce, are you listening to this? This is awesome. So I love that you're sharing this, Stacy, because in many traditions, we externalize the hero. We make it somebody else, right? So that is part of the story of Neo and Morpheus. For Morpheus to understand that in that story, he's the mentor. He's not the hero. He might be a hero somewhere else, but in that story of Zion, he's the mentor. He's the Anubis in that story, right? And so you want to understand for yourself, in what areas of my life am I the main character? And how am I absconding my own responsibility of carrying this story through to victory, because I refuse to be the hero in my own story? There are times when you refuse to be the hero of your story because it looks hard, it feels hard, you've tried and failed before, because you think you may not have the resources, you may not have the know-how, you may have your imposter syndrome flaring, etc. But if we remember that one of our tenets here that I've inserted is check your assumptions, right? Check yourself before you wreck yourself. What if you operate out of the assumption that, like I said before, if I haven't won yet, it's not over? What if that was an assumption out of which you operated in this journey? And then you could decide, and then you see, even when I'm on the ropes, like Giovanni says, even when I'm on the ropes, I still have, that's just number 8. I still have 4 more stages to go. I'm not finished. And so when you realize that, you might be open to and discover resources or even just a resilience that you didn't know that you had. Sorrel, you have your hand up too. Let's go.
Oh my God, this is amazing. This is amazing. I've never seen it this way before.
Ooh.
And you know, it's like in the hero's journey, I've always had it that, yeah, I'm the hero, but I'm participating in some story that's something outside of me or somebody else wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm getting in this conversation is that I'm the author of the story too.
Right.
It's like I'm writing the story and then I'm on the ropes and I keep myself on the ropes. I keep rewriting and revisiting that part.
Yeah.
And I get that there's the opportunity to continue to write the story
Mm-hmm.
beyond wherever I am in the story,
Mm-hmm.
whenever I want.
That's exactly right.
I'm the author of the story. I'm not just the hero playing a part.
Oh,
And
that's
even
so
when
awesome.
I am the villain or somebody's mentor, I'm also the author.
Mm-hmm. You're authoring that. Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So thank you. Amazing.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. And I love that you bring in this whole idea of authorship because, again, with the whole externalization thing, that we think that there's a challenge that God or the universe or society has thrust upon us. But when you realize that you are both Shakespeare and King Lear, right? That you are the protagonist in the story, but also the author of it, then you get to decide, not perhaps the pattern has already been established, right? But the nuances and the details of it and what you say and how you show up, those details are up to you. We already know that the game has already been won. We already know that. We know how the story is going to end. You're going to win. Now, are you going to win and be battled and bruised and defeated and just crawling to the finish line? Or are you going to run there victorious? Are you going to go there with some newfound wisdom and quit?
It depends on the type of story I'm writing.
That's right. That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
I oh my God.
It's huge, right? Look at all the neural pathways that are being formed today. I'm looking at your faces and I'm like, these people are going to walk away new people today. I love it. So I really appreciate that you guys let me nerd out on the hero's journey today. That we are in the middle of summer series for the there are pieces that we didn't know that were, keys to our spiritual maturity. We started off by talking about your body and your money and your emotions and even food. And here we are talking about the hero's journey. And it's like, wait, what? All of that can be part of, those are ingredients for my spiritual unfoldment. Yes. And we've got more, but wait, there's more. We're only halfway through our summer series. So we're going to be sharing even more, and we're going to bring more guests as well. So I appreciate you all for being here. Big shout out. I want to take a special moment to say hello and to give a big virtual hug to our friend Robin Stern. Robin,
hey,
so much for being here. We so love you.
Good seeing you guys today. Thanks for having me. Appreciate the warm welcome.
Yes, absolutely. So, of course, as we always say when we are ending our dates, our weekly dates, we always go to Patty Dabrowski's tenets and then Monikah's tenet at the bottom. So those 7 are love out loud, give generously, move your body, stress less, sleep at least 7 hours, What else do we got? Those are 5. Give me the
Eat more plant-based.
Eat more plant-based. And what else?
I don't have them pulled up.
Smile. Did you say smile, Steve?
Yeah.
Did we say smile? Smile more. Did we say that? Is that part of it?
Give.
I know
Move.
You can
Move,
have
give.
that one if you like.
I
Love, laugh,
know
stress,
Sorrel wants me to
plants.
shake my tail feather. I know he always wants to twerk. Move your body.
Move your
And then,
body.
of course, the Monikah PS is check yourself before you wreck yourself. Always test your assumptions. We love you guys. Thank you so much for being here with us. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks again, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.